So in the last class, before we broke for the holidays, I had covered the word Dattajame. So we had to get to the next one. So this Anuvaka, as I mentioned, is considered as the most important Anuvaka. We use that as a Shanti Mantra, we use that in the Vasurdhara, in the Yajna process. So in a number of ways, this is very important. That's why I came up with a name for this Anuvaka today, Yajna Hridaya Mantra, or Yajna Hridaya Anuvaka. It is a very heart of Yajna.
You're talking about the third Anuvaka.
I am talking about the Sanchame third Anuvaka. So the next word we have to take is Kshemaschame. So Kshema.
What did you say? Yajna?
Yajna Hridaya Anuvaka. It is the very heart of Yajna. It is just a name I came up with, so because as I was contemplating on that. The Kshema means safety or security. It is the ability for us to protect all our earnings, our acquisitions, our inheritance. It is not just material wealth. It is also our relatives and our relationships. It is very important that once we make somebody a friend, and then we should ever make that person our friend. So does it mean to say that the friendship lasts forever? There can always be a misunderstanding, there can always be a fallout. Then what are we going to do? Even then, in our heart, that sense of friendship should not be lost. Not that you are going to go and live with them, or you are going to be with them, or you are going to actually go behind them or anything like that, because we have to move on sometimes. But even then, in our heart, we should not lose that sense of friendship for that purpose, for that person, which means that we shall never think ill of any person, or we shall never think anything other than good for that person. This is what we are praying in this Anuvaka, Kshemaschame. And very importantly, we must make sure that we preserve harmonious relationship with our brothers, with our sisters, with their children. This is what I was talking yesterday also in another class. All with everybody. We should always be blessing, we should always have a harmonious relationship. That, please don't misunderstand me, it doesn't mean that you should live under the same roof. Sometimes it is possible, sometimes it's not possible, but what attitude we should have. Because this is all the process we are going through to uplift ourselves. It is not for the sake of correcting somebody or uplifting somebody else. It's purely our own spiritual journey. So for that sake, that heart, our heart must become totally peaceful. So that is the purpose. So when we start with such attitude, with our own family, then we get a laboratory. In that laboratory, we will be able to test all our ability to include everyone in our heart. So that will be the next step for the higher ideal of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So if we cannot include our own friends and family, how can we say I will include the entire world? It's impossible. Therefore, Kshemaschame is this practice. Kshema is preserving, and especially it is preserving all the knowledge and the information we have gathered with discrimination, and then we must all the time retain what is wholesome and good, and reject and throw away what is unwholesome and evil. So it's a constant process of cleansing. It is just like you vacuum your house every so often. Like that, the mind also has got to be cleansed. So that is why every day chanting the Sanchame mantra is good. So preventing harm is also part of the Kshema effort. So we also do this at the time of initiation in the Upanayana. So at the time of Upanayana, the initiate promises to the teacher, Smritancha me, Asmritancha me. I will remember what should be remembered. I will forget what should be forgotten. Ninda chame, aninda chame. These are all the mantras of the Vatu, that is the initiate promises. That's why I always say everybody should go through the Upanayana Samskara. Unfortunately, I do not know what happened in our culture. They restricted it only to a particular gender and only to a particular caste or a particular sect. It is such a loss of this culture. For whom is this not required, that we should forget all bad things and we should remember all good things? For whom does it not apply that I should forget all that bad things others spoke to me and remember all the good things that did to me? Everyone. So this initiation should happen to everybody. And what is the highest kshema that will make sure that all these things will happen? It is knowledge. The more and more knowledge we acquire, the more and more broadens our heart. So the all constriction is because we don't acquire enough knowledge. So therefore, our Subhashita also says, Vidyadhanam Sarvadhana Pradhanam. Among all the possessions, it is Vidya which gives discrimination, and so thus this interpretation that I have done is in keeping with the spirit of the Anuvaka. Because if you look at many of the commentaries, they will say Kshemascha, please give me security and safety. In none of the commentaries this the explanation is given. So I was disappointed, because if you look at the spirit of the Shanchame Anuvaka, this is what the rishis would have had in their mind. Because you will see that same trend continuing. Because to be able to develop an attitude like this, you need determination. Because we cannot be naturally good, naturally pleasant to everybody all the time. It has to be forced upon us. And to be able to force ourselves of that, you need stability. And the stability is the next mantra, which is Dhritischame. So that Dhriti is equanimity. It also means endurance. It means titiksha. It means fortitude. And then which is one of the important ingredients for a spiritual aspirant. Samadhi Shatka. Among the Samadhi Shatka, the sixfold disciplines that are required, endurance and steadfastness is very important. Actually, it is also the very first element of the 10 aspects of Dharma that Manusmriti talks about. The Manusmriti, the laws of Manu, it says that Dhritihi, first one, Kshama, forgiveness, second, Damaha, control on the body, senses, Asteyam, not appropriating somebody else's possessions, Shaucham, cleanliness, Indriya Nigraha, control on senses, Dhihi, pursuit of an intellectual pursuits, Vidya, knowledge, Dhir Vidya, Satyam, truthfulness, Akrodha, not having rage, Dashakam Dharma Lakshanam, says the Manusmriti. Dhritihi, Kshama, Damaha, Asteyam, Shaucham, Indriya Nigraha, Dhir Vidya, Satyam, Akrodho, Dashakam Dharma Lakshanam. So the very first requisite is Dhriti. So this Dhriti, we pray for this Dhriti for a Sattvika Dhriti. That means a steadfastness which is going to increase our Sattva Guna. Where do we get the evidence for that? Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 33, 34, 35. Dhritya yaya dharayate manaha prana indriya kriyaha yogena avyabhicharinya dhritihi sa partha sattviki. One who holds his mind with steadfastness and then controls his prana. Prana is a combination of desire and will here, because it's again we have got to interpret the word prana very carefully. It is not just breath, it is the combination of desire and will. The problem of desire is it will hijack will. So control of the desire by willpower and not the other way around is called dhriti. And with that dhriti, that's called prana. Prana, indriya is all our senses, and then kriyaha, all our activities. Avyabhicharinya yogena, by absolute unswerving yoga, one who pursues is supposed to have a sattvika dhriti. But Krishna also goes on to understand that such a quality of dhriti may not be easy for everyone. So what happens? What about all of us who are incapable of such yoga? For us also he says, okay, let's start with the Rajasa dhriti. Yayatu dharma kama arthat dhritya dharayate Arjuna. So let us pursue dharmartha kama with a selfish motive. Let us have a selfish motive of earning money, of enjoying the pleasures of life, but within the boundary of dharma. Then prasangena phalakankshi dhritissa partha rajasi. So that rajasa dhriti is also okay to begin with. Because Krishna himself has sanctioned dharma viruddho kamosmi. I am the desire which is not opposed to dharma. So how should we pursue this? Again, there is a beautiful subhashita, ajaramaravat prajnaha vidyam arthanja sadhayet grihita iva kesheshu mrityuna dharmam acharet. So there also he will give us a clue, as though we will never get old and as though we will never die, earn money, enjoy life. But observe dharma with the awareness that death may snatch you away this very moment. With that awareness, we have to do dharma. So very interestingly, Krishna goes on to point out in the next verse, because we also have tremendous amount of dhriti. What kind of dhriti? Suppose we are sad, suppose we are upset with somebody, suppose we are angry. With great determination we hold on to that. So why is that determination so compelling, whereas the determination for spiritual upliftment is not? It is because of the tamasa characteristics in us. So he himself says, one who clings on to daydreaming, and then fear. Fear of what? Why fear? Because what is the worst fear? The worst fear is death. And it will happen. It has to happen. So one who clings to daydreaming, to fear, swapnam, bhayam, sorrow, shokam, vishadam, vishada is depression, vishadam, madam evacha, ego and arrogance. He who does not give up by steadfastness, by dhriti, is supposed to be a tamasa dhriti. So the whole gamut Krishna has already covered, and the next Next prayer is also a very beautiful prayer, Vishwancha me. The reason I spoke so elaborately about Dhriti is because without this Sattvika steadfastness, Sattviki Dhriti, the next prayer, Vishwancha me, is totally meaningless and shallow. Think about it. Because in this context of Chamaka Prashna, Vishwam means goodwill of all. I want the goodwill of everybody, but I don't want to show goodwill to anybody. How is that sustainable? Isn't it? And therefore, in this context, Dhriti, only if Dhriti is Sattviki Dhriti, we become entitled to ask for the goodwill from the whole world. Therefore, Vishwancha me, this sage is asking for Vishwancha me. And then, if you have looked at the Anuvaka so far, what do you see? All these attitudes will bring us Bhadrancha me, Shreyascha me. If you take only that phrase, Bhadrancha me and Shreyascha me, and you fit the other words, what are the two things that we will get? Number one, Bhadram means all the comforts in this life, which Kathopanishad calls it as prayers. Shreyas, the same word is used here, Shreyascha me, you will get in the afterworld also. So both the Shreyas and praise is assured. This sadhaka, one who is praying like this, internalizing it like this, will become an indweller of the entire universe. When you become the indweller of the entire universe is very benevolent to you because you are living in it. So the a cross reference to Kathopanishad here, Ekastatha sarvabhutantaratma lipyate loka dukkhena bahyaha. We have not yet studied this mantra, we will study later. It is in the Kathopanishad, chapter 2, the Adhyaya 2, in that second valley, 11th mantra, which talks about just like the sun illumines all, and the good and the bad of the world does not affect him. Like that a person will live, one who has got this Dhritischa me and Vishwancha me. We'll continue next week.